Afronauts is a series I did in 2012. When I quit my job as a photojournalist, I really wanted to try and tell stories in a different way, and for that I would try to find the stories that are real but unbelievable, and the other way around. And doing this research, I found the story of a Zambian space program that really happened in 1964. And it's a story, yes, when 1964 in Zambia, when they became independent, they started to train 10 men, 2 cats and 1 woman to go to the moon and then to Mars. And so for me it was like all of a sudden a lot of images coming to my mind, coming both from the cliché from Africa, that it's everywhere, and also from the cliché from the space race in the 60s that is quite rich. So instead of trying to document that in a straightforward way, what I decided to do is to put on the table how I would imagine an African space program would be, and by doing that just maybe to raise awareness on what the cliché is coming from Africa. In Europe and in Western countries we have science fiction as something like technologically very developed, while in Africa it doesn't necessarily have to be technologically, we don't have to make like super amazing spaceships, but that doesn't mean it's not science fiction, it's just not edgy science fiction. But I think yes, I mean both utopia and science fiction, that is from the family of how we can see ourselves in the future, is necessary in every country, especially in Africa. It's always been there. Even the traditional stories already have science fiction, but it's not like technological science fiction. It's science fiction about ghosts that puts together the cultural, the religion and the myths from from every country in Africa, but it's not necessarily with astronauts and space base and things like that. It's still science fiction. It's a fiction that challenges the normal way we understand the world, and in that Africa is a master. When I was doing the Afronauts, I was very lucky because a lot of people who got excited with the project, they started sending me references to read. You're gonna love this book, you're gonna love this book. And one of them was My Life in the Bush of Ghosts. That is a book that was written in 1964 by Amos Tutuola. And it's an amazing book please read that book, it's amazing. And it's a story of a 5-year-old kid whose village is attacked by soldiers, and he runs away and hides in the bush. That is this magical area where the ghost and the spirit lives, in the Yoruba and all the culture and voodoo coming from Benin. So he hides there and he's lost for 30 years. And that's more or less, and he just like struggles with all sorts of ghosts and spirits, and it's like an amazing, fantastic science fiction story, but in the past, in a way. So what I did, I was invited to go to Nigeria for Lagos Photo Festival, and they invited me to stay longer and develop a new project. So when I was there, I had the chance to go to this neighborhood in Lagos called Makoko. That is a very special neighborhood, like quite scary. It's like a closed community. It's very difficult to gain access. It's spooky. It's like quite intense, and it's one of the neighborhoods that most of photojournalists go when they have to take pictures of Africa as we know it, especially in the media. So it's like poor people with a beautiful light, etc., etc. And that's where most photojournalists can go and find these images quite easily. So I decided to use the neighborhood as the metaphor for the bush, of this place that is forbidden for humans, and where the people who live there are scary, they don't really exist because they're spirits. So it's just to try to describe that place, Makoko, that has been described always maybe in the same way, including all the rituals, the mythology and all the cultural richness that the people that live there normally bring to the place, and that as Western photographers we always forget. The title of the series is the last sentence of that book. All the pictures are either characters of the book, or sequences of the book, or chapters of the book, or small details that it's also my reading of the book. It's not, I'm not doing like a literal critic of that, not at all. It's my reading of the book and how I just see it projected in that neighborhood that is Makoko. The way I work, it generates a lot. It's a performative thing because, for example, the Afronauts, it's a fiction. It's a real story that I turned into fiction. And this one is completely the other way around. It's a fictional story that I made happen for real in real life. So taking pictures like that, it's actually quite performative because you are working with the community. I remember there's one picture that is not on show here, but it's a birthday of ghosts. And it's a party of ghosts. And I remember it was quite hard, for example, to get a birthday cake in Lagos because it's not easy to find. So I had a birthday cake made and we went to Makoko and we just we had a birthday party with ghosts that were really there. So all the kids and everyone was we just had a real party, birthday party afterwards. So maybe not an image because it would be difficult to choose, but there's lots of experiences that you cannot see in the images, but I remember because I see what is behind of me when I'm shooting that are really worth not to forget for me. So this wall is sort of experiment. For me, I'm always trying to understand how stories are built and see how I can use photography to tell stories, even simple stories and very complex stories. So this is quite complex and I'm just trying to see if it works. I like it, but I think I have to just keep on trying more and see how far I can get. It's actually, I did an exhibition in New York last month in September, and it's a selection of 7 stories, maybe like the last works I did in the last 3 years. So for me it was not a retrospective, but this is how I tell stories, and there's very different stories and told in a very different way. So for me this is like how my brain works actually. This is how I work, what is important, what is not, and how it's a self-portrait maybe, but if I had to scan my mind and what the last 3 years have been, this is what it would look like.